What's up, everyone? Welcome back here to the Megan Moves channel. It's a different day, but we are here for another Disney topic live stream, and I am really excited because we have a different time today, and it's because we have some guests that are in a different time zone than we are right now. But I'm excited because today we're going to be talking about Disneyland Paris versus Disney World. So I'm excited because I've asked the Disney Twins UK channel to come on here. We have Katie and Hayley that are going to be talking to us today about Disneyland Paris. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday morning, evening, wherever you guys are tuning in from. Let us know in the chat. But Katie and Hayley, thanks so much for tuning in and joining us today. How are you guys doing?
We're good, thank you. Thank you for having us on. We're really excited.
Yeah, no problem. It's great. Like I said, great to meet you guys, and I love your ears and everything. I think they're super cute.
So like too much anymore. That's the thing.
I know. Yeah.
Opportunities, put the ears on.
Exactly. Sometimes you just got to wear them around the house and, just kind of get a little bit of Disney in your day.
Exactly.
So thanks again, everybody in the chat for tuning in if you're watching live or on the replay. But as usual, if you guys have any questions throughout the stream, we've got some questions here, whether it's from Instagram or questions that I've come up with that I'm going to ask Katie and Hayley. But before we get on into it, Katie and Hayley, would you mind giving a little bit of a background to you guys and also just a background to your channel?
So we're based in the UK. We're in the northwest. We're in Cheshire. We get over to Disney World at least once a year if we can. We tend to stay for like 2 weeks. We tend to go all out and do at least 2 weeks a year. I think we're on about 7 trips to Disney World now, something like that.
Nice.
And then we're also annual pass holders for Disneyland Paris. So I think we were on 9 trips, mostly in the last couple of years. And we also went over to Disneyland California last year, which was amazing. Yeah, it was really fun. We've kind of done 3 off the bucket list so far. We do have plans to make it around every single Disneyland that we can. But yeah, I think coronavirus put a stop to a lot of plans for a lot of people.
Exactly.
So we set up our channel 2 years ago. Yeah. Our first kind of vlog series was when we went to Disney World back in 2018 for like a Christmas kind of birthday trip. And really, we did that because the first time we went to Disney World was in 2015, and we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know what a fast pass was. We didn't know how to schedule anything. We didn't know about dining reservations, and we just kind of turned up, and we thought we would be able to wing it. And obviously, as you know, and a lot of people who watch our channel probably know, that really doesn't work out well if you're planning on spending 2 weeks in Disney World. We learned so much more from going on other trips and just doing more research and just finding out a bit more about the Disney community. And we wanted to share that with people who were in the same situation we were in 2015, where we just booked the holiday and then thought we would just turn up and have a nice time. And just to make sure other people don't miss out on those things that you have to plan ahead of time. That's kind of why we set up our channel, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I think, YouTubers or, channels and everything are so helpful because it can be really intimidating trying to, like you said, plan a trip or even just showing up. It's just it can be really overwhelming, just all of the stuff that you can do, see how to get everywhere. And I think it's neat, you guys being in the UK, because you're kind of in the center of all of the park locations. You can, go down to Disneyland Paris, or it's really probably easier for you guys to go over to Shanghai Disney, or come over here to Disneyland California. So I'll be interested to see you guys check all the parks off your list, because I know that's one thing I would like to do. I've only been able to go to Disney World so far, but all of the other parks are definitely on my list for sure. So hopefully one day we'll get to them. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, but we'll go ahead and we'll just get started on the list of questions that I have here. And the first question, let's talk about, of course, the location is in the name, but let's talk about where Disneyland Paris is located, and maybe more specifically, how easy is it to get to the park once you arrive, whether it's at the airport, or let's talk about something like that.
Yeah, so Disneyland Paris is around 20 miles outside of actual sort of like the city of Paris.
Okay.
We actually have never been in the city of Paris. We've only ever been to Disneyland Paris. So yeah, but it's super easy to get to if you wanted to make it as part of like a big trip where you were going to see a bit more of Europe. It's super easy. We tend to fly, so we have airports that are really close to us. We're within sort of like a 30-40 minute driving distance of 2 different airports that have like really low cost airlines operating out of them.
Nice.
Go over to France, so it's really easy. It's much easier for us to get a flight. If we were living sort of in London or in the south of the UK, there's a couple of other options, but we tend to fly over. It's like an hour in the plane.
Right.
Super easy, and we tend to fly into Charles de Gaulle Airport, which is kind of the main airport for access in Paris. But another airport, I think it's called Beauvais. I think we did that one time, but it was like a little bit more difficult to then sort of like get to your destination from there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, super easy. Then if you live in the south, or you're prepared to sort of like make your way down to London and Kent, there is the Eurostar, which is basically a train which goes direct from London to Disneyland Paris. So it's a super easy convenient way to do it if you live down there.
Wow. Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's there is an actual train station at Disneyland Paris that's literally right there. You walk straight out into sort of Disney Village and you see the parks like right in front of you. It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
So the train is like a super convenient way of like getting directly there. I guess once we get to the airport on the other side, we then have a few different options of how to get to the parks from there. So we can either get a taxi. There's quite a few different like private hire sort of like specific like transfer services that you can get. We did that quite a lot, didn't we? Yeah. And we had like a specific company that we knew worked out really well, and they were always like there on time to pick us up.
Oh, nice.
So, and that was kind of reasonable. Like I think that one's better for if you've got like a bigger party or a family, because it works out like really cheap if there's more of you. But for us, like when it's just the 2 of us, it's like can be quite pricey. I think it's about 35-40 minutes in the car, depending on time of day and traffic and everything. And if it's like if you get an evening flight and you get in there in the evening, I think it's a good option. But the last trip that we went on, we actually took the train direct from the airport. There is a train station actually at the airport, and it's like a 10-minute journey to get straight into Disneyland Paris. So we tried that first time, and it's so easy. It was amazing. Quick.
Wow, that's awesome then. So there's definitely some options for you and everything. So the train definitely makes sense though, because I know I've been to Paris before. I studied abroad in France, and I'm wishing we went to Paris, and I'm wishing that we did go to Disneyland Paris, but we just didn't, get around to it and everything. But I know trains are a huge thing over even in just Europe and stuff. So it makes sense that they would have a train option available. But that's really convenient that they have one that goes straight to Disneyland Paris, especially being pass holders. I imagine, it'd be maybe easy for you guys to get over there for a trip or whatnot.
Yeah, so it tends to be like a shorter trip for Disneyland Paris, like especially for us. And we know a lot of other UK guests that tend to do sort of somewhere between like a 3-day trip to sort of like a 5-day, maybe a week. But we don't know many people who would do like longer than a week.
Gotcha.
But they might do like a shorter trip just like several times during the year. That's definitely what we do. Yeah, gotcha. I think we tend to stay for 4 nights. Like there's never enough time for us to just spend in a Disney park. We were just like, and no amount of time is long enough for us. So, so we tend to kind of do 4 nights, really, don't we? But if we need to take a shorter trip, then it is convenient enough to be able to do that too. So
nice. No, that's awesome then. That's great. Well, that's awesome. So we'll get into maybe a little bit more specifics about the parks and everything. But I know here at Disney World, we have 4 parks, whether it's Magic Kingdom or we have some water parks. But as far as Disneyland Paris goes, how many parks does Disneyland Paris actually have? Does it have just one, or are there multiple ones that you're able to visit?
So there's 2 parks, and they're right next door to each other. And so we've got the Disneyland Park, which is like kind of, I would probably say like the main park right now. It's very similar to Magic Kingdom. It's, you know, it's got Main Street and the castle, and it, you know, has the same areas, even though Tomorrowland is called Discoveryland, but
okay.
pretty much, yeah, called the same thing. So that's kind of, Disneyland Park is kind of a Magic Kingdom. Then you have Walt Disney Studios Park, which it kind of has a Hollywood Studios vibe, but yeah, it's not really like any of the other Disney parks that we've been to. It's kind of got its own thing going on, but you'll find similar attractions like Tower of Terror, and they used to have a rock and roller coaster there that's closed at the moment because it's going to be Marvel when they kind of do the Marvel campus. So
Gotcha.
yeah, it's got its own vibe, but it was more about initially kind of a behind the scenes of kind of movie making style thing, but I think they're kind of branching away from that, and yeah, especially with that's where the main expansion's coming up. So they're going to be building obviously the Marvel campus, and also a Galaxy's Edge is going to be there eventually, and also the Frozen Land. So yeah, so there's going to be 3 different areas in that park, so it'll just make it completely different to anywhere else, I think.
That's awesome. Okay, so that's sweet then. So then, and another question that I got on Instagram was, how many days should you spend or should you allocate for each park? Like, would you say you can get everything done in a day? Or I know, like we said, you can never have too much Disney time, but like, how much time would you actually recommend to dedicate to each park?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to when Hollywood Studios was having the expansion with Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge, where it kind of became like a half-day park. I know a lot of people were saying like Hollywood Studios, like you're half-day and you're kind of done. Obviously not the case now that Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land are open, but that's kind of the situation with Studios Park right now, where it was already Disney's smallest park. And then they've closed off quite a lot of it because of the expansion and the renovations and the construction work that they've got going on. So I would definitely say that you would probably spend a lot less time in Studios Park than you would Disneyland Park. Again, like I suppose if you base it on Magic Kingdom, like or Disneyland Park in California, sort of how long you would roughly spend in those parks would probably be similar for Disneyland Park, I would say. Yeah. So it just depends, and it depends what's going on, because Disneyland Paris is kind of one of those places that it depends when you go to what kind of things are happening, because they have very special things happen at different times of the year. I don't know if you want to talk about that now, or if there's like you want to talk about that in a little while.
No, we can, go right. That's what another thing I was going to say is maybe like talking about the highlights of each park. But let's talk about that now. Like what are the parks like at different times of the year? What's the best time to visit them? And yeah, go ahead, talk about some of that. That's great.
So basically, they have what they call different seasons at Disneyland Paris, and it's a relatively new thing they've brought in over the last few years. They obviously do have like Halloween season, which is kind of similar to Disney World, and a similar kind of thing for Christmas. But they also have like different sort of themed like seasons. So we get like a Star Wars season where they'll have a whole loads of extra things, extra shows, extra merch, extra meet and greets, and different things going on for just but a certain amount of time. So they'll kind of have a start date and an end date. That's really fun. But alongside the Star Wars, they had a Frozen celebration last year, which ran for longer than a normal season. And there was extra shows that were Frozen, and so they made a big deal out of Frozen for that time. They also have a Marvel season, so again, it's the extra meet and greets and shows, kind of all about that, really, isn't it? So they kind of tend to do that more at the start of the year, and then Halloween and Christmas kind of like take over for the rest of the year. But I suppose that kind of adds something different. So it doesn't leave many days where there's nothing going, like just a normal day, because there wasn't many normal days
Yeah, I think because they're bringing in these new seasons and things. So.
Yeah, so like if you went to Studios Park when it wasn't like during like a specific season, there's going to be only like a limited amount of things that are happening. There's only like so much of the park that's open for like the rides and attractions. One of the things definitely is like a must do for Studios Park is the Mickey and the Magician show, which is like they have like a dedicated theatre, and that theatre just has like the Mickey and the Magician show like on like several times during the day, kind of like Festival of Lion King, kind of that kind of setup.
Gotcha.
And, and it's just like an all singing, all dancing, like Mickey show, and it's just like literally one of the best shows out on any Disney property, in our opinion, isn't it? So that's definitely a must do. And they also changed that out at Christmas to be Mickey's Big Band show, where it's like a similar kind of thing, but it's like there's tap dancing and there's Christmas songs and there's like a live band, and it's very, very cool, isn't it?
Yeah. Other things that are different for Studios Park that are definitely worth doing. I know that Epcot is getting the Ratatouille ride, but Ratatouille area, obviously at Disneyland Paris. And yeah, so they have that ride, and the area there is really picturesque. And also they have another attraction called Crusher's Coaster. So that's a really fun ride to do as well. But I think there's not that many attractions open at the moment, but the ones that are there are definitely worth kind of checking out. But I think when we were there in August, it was a lot quieter because of capacity and everything. By like 5 in the evening, we were done in that part. We'd done everything apart from Tower of Terror, which we don't do. We'd literally done everything else, but the Mickey show wasn't on, and there were a few things that weren't on. But yeah, I think really you probably only need maybe a day in Studios Park at the moment to do everything until they start opening up kind of the new lands. But I think Disneyland Park, I think you do need longer, especially at busy times, because they don't have the same fast pass system. So therefore the lines can be the waits are a lot longer. So I probably do need longer in Disneyland Park, because there's a lot more to do, and sometimes the wait times can really kind of limit what you get on in a day.
Gotcha. That makes sense. No, that's one of the things that I love about all of the different parks is like there's different things to see or do. And I didn't even know about like that, like the highlights or the seasons you were talking about. Like it kind of reminds me of like Epcot with the different festivals. But I think that's really neat that they kind of like highlight whether it's different movies or different aspects of Disney. I think that's really cool. And like you said, there's never like nothing going on in the parks, which I think is like really cool. So that might also be like another thing to consider when you're planning your trip when things go back to normal. Maybe like what season do I want to experience Disneyland Paris in? So that's really cool. I didn't know about any of that. I'm glad that you guys shared that for sure. That's really neat. But another question we can go back to just really quickly is I wanted to talk about like the size of the two parks. Like how do they compared to, if we compare it to Disney World, like are they smaller? Are they the same size? Or I know you said like the Hollywood Studios one is maybe going through some renovations or whatnot, but like how do they compare in size?
Yeah, I think Walt Disney Studios Park was already the smallest park that Disney owned worldwide. It was already a fairly small park, and because they've closed some of it off, it does make it really small now. But like they're building 3 new lands. They're building
around Big Lake.
It's going to be around Big Lake. They're building Elsa's Ice Palace and a whole Galaxy's Edge. And so by the time they're finished with that, I think it will be quite a big park. But at the moment, it's very small.
Gotcha.
Disneyland Park is, I guess, kind of maybe a similar size to Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit bigger than Magic Kingdom. It's definitely bigger than Disneyland California, than Disneyland Park. I think there's like certain areas that are like, it's quite nicely laid out where you never feel like everything's like too close together, but there's some areas that they've got like quite a lot of space that isn't necessarily being used. So I think that's probably where the extra sort of space is coming from. But kind of like, definitely around the same size as Magic Kingdom is.
Okay, gotcha. So kind of similar then. That makes sense. We have a question in the chat here from Rachel. She's asking, do they have the Dapper Dans in the UK?
No, I wish they did.
I wish
Well,
they did.
They kind of a lot of their entertainment offerings tend to be like scheduled. Like there's not that much like streetmosphere kind of stuff. There's not that much happening on Main Street. We've only just got a photo pass location on Main Street, like a castle photo. So like that's like a brand new thing. You can't get like a photo further down Main Street. I know if you go to Magic Kingdom, there's maybe like 4 or 5 different like photographers like dotted down the street.
Yeah.
We don't have that in Disneyland Paris. There is like a brand new like location right in front of the castle, but that's literally come in like this year.
Yeah.
Like since it reopened. Yeah. So yeah, we would love there to be Dapper Dans, but there's not so much stuff like that. There's quite a lot of like, I guess, sort of like character locations sort of around Main Street and that kind of area. But,
and I think a lot of the entertainment are scheduled shows. So there's a small stage at the side of the castle where during the celebration seasons there might be a special show on there. There's also stages set up right in front of the castle, and kind of, I suppose it would be similar to where the hub area is at Magic Kingdom. They have 4 different stages, so sometimes they do shows on there. And
so where the hub grass would be, they're like stages, they're like raised stages in Disneyland Paris.
So I think they're more scheduled shows rather than kind of like pop-up entertainers. But yeah, we love them. Yeah.
Gotcha. And do they do like parades or anything at all?
Yeah, so we have Disney Stars on Parade, which has been running for a few years now. I don't think there's any plans on changing it up just yet, but it's a really cool parade. Yeah, and it's got some like really different floats and things like you wouldn't like see anywhere else.
Nice.
So that it's like the same kind of thing. It happens once a day. The time does change depending on the seasons, because this time of year it gets pretty dark around about sort of like 4 o'clock.
But they kind of schedule it so it starts off in the light and then the sun starts to kind of go down whilst the parade is happening. So it's kind of usually kind of around 5 o'clock in the evening most times. So it makes for a really different atmosphere than the parade at Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, you've not got the sun beating down on you usually.
No.
Yeah.
It's usually a lot cooler experience.
Gotcha.
We have the parade. There's no sort of like evening parade. They do have extra sort of cavalcades that they brought in for like the Frozen celebration we were talking about. They had like a couple of the floats quite similar to, I'm not sure if you've seen the new parade that's in California, but they've got like sort of the new sort of like Frozen 2 themed sort of kind of float, and yeah, so they'll do, depending on sort of like when it is, they'll do kind of like a little cavalcade type thing like that as well.
Their cavalcades normally combine with a mini show on those stages that are in front of the castle. So for Frozen they did that. They all came down on the floats and then danced in that main area and did songs and things. And then also for Halloween they do the same thing. So there's some Halloween floats that come by as a cavalcade, but then they stop in that area right in front of the castle, and there's more songs and things, so they kind of make it kind of part of a show, which is really cool.
Wow, that's awesome. That's sweet. Yeah, I'll have to, that's one thing I need to do about all the different parks is like look up, you know, the highlights or like what these parades or what everything looks like, just to get like a, you know, a mental image of what goes on and everything. That's what I like about that. There's a lot of different things that we don't have at Disney World, or, you know, that are a little bit different. So that's really exciting. But we talked a little bit about like highlights of things to see and do. So I wanted to go into like the rides a little bit, like how the rides are either similar or different. I know you mentioned like the Ratatouille ride is coming here to Disney World, which I am so excited for because it looks so much fun. But what are some rides that you guys have that we have here at Disney World, but also some different things that you guys have?
I think the main kind of highlights for us when it comes to the rides is the mountains, like it is when we visit Disney World. We love riding all the mountains, but the mountains are very different at Disneyland Paris.
Okay.
So our Space Mountain is called Hyperspace Mountain. It has a Star Wars overlay, and it is it's kind of a bit more of an intense coaster. It does go upside down, and it kind of has an inclined launch. So it's very different to Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom or Disneyland in California. It's still really fast, and it's still in the dark. But I would say that it was kind of, I suppose it's kind of in between Space Mountain and kind of Rock and Roller Coaster, like somewhere in the middle, but also with that kind of Star Wars twist as well, which is really cool. It's definitely one of our favorite rides. I think that's our favorite ride at Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the main thing to remember with Disneyland Paris is that we do have a lot of the same sort of named and themed rides as there are in Disney World. But just because they're called the same thing doesn't mean they're the same experience. Like we've got so like that's a really good example about like Space Mountain. It's a completely different experience to sort of like the Space Mountain in Magic Kingdom. Like I think generally the rides that are quite similar still are more intense at Disneyland Paris. So Big Thunder Mountains, like it goes on for longer. It's a lot more intense.
Yeah, and there's a big period where it's completely in the dark, kind of in a similar way as Expedition Everest, kind of those moments where you're inside in the dark. So it has, I think it goes on for a lot longer than the one at Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, and like we've got Phantom Manor, which is kind of the equivalent of Haunted Mansion, which is just storyline, same kind of thing. We've got the stretching room, we've got the overall ride's the same experience, but a lot more scary, I think, at Disneyland Paris. A lot more spooky, a lot more like I say, it's got its own like whole storyline and things. So I think like it's very much the same but different, that one, isn't it? But just in general, like, and we've got like an Indiana Jones ride, which is a roller coaster. Obviously, if you're in Disneyland California, they have sort of an Indiana Jones ride, but it's more like kind of like dinosaur. So completely different rides. Like one's a coaster and one's more like a dark ride. But then we have the classics. We've got Dumbo, we've got the carousel.
Peter Pan's Flight is very similar.
Nice, gotcha.
Small World, Small World is really nice at Disneyland Paris of how it's kind of where it is. It's kind of got its own area in the park, so you can really appreciate just how beautiful it looks from the outside. It has like a little fountain at the front of it, and so it's kind of like at Disneyland Paris they've made it a real kind of a spectacle, I suppose, even just walking up to it. So that's really nice, and we always make sure that we ride. It's kind of one of our traditions to ride Small World, so we'll always do it at the Magic Kingdom. But it's just a shame at Magic Kingdom that it's in that enclosed spot where it kind of bottlenecks and you can't see just how beautiful it is. So I think that's really nice at Disneyland Paris, that you can actually see how beautiful it is from the outside, and it really sets the scene for when you go in.
Gotcha. No, that is really neat. Yeah, especially like you said, Small World at Disney World. It's like a very small and narrow place. Like it can get pretty crowded in there and stuff. So that's kind of neat that you're able to actually like see the whole ride and like get an appreciation for it and stuff. And another question that I am just remembering that we got on Instagram and kind of applies to the rides and everything is like with cast members or just the rides, do they speak French or do they speak English, or is there a mix, or how does that work?
I think there's definitely a mix, and you'll find that in the shows and parades as well, that many of the characters do speak French. And so I think it really just varies. Most of the cast members do speak English as well as French, I would say. So kind of when you visit and if you need information or help or directions or anything, most cast members you'll come into contact with would probably be able to speak English and to help you, whereas I know some of the Asian Disneylands, sometimes they kind of have to find someone who does speak English to kind of help, whereas in France it is very much French and English. But you'll find them in some of the shows. So in Mickey and the Magician, Mickey speaks French.
Cool.
The characters speak English, and it's kind of so it's kind of
done from like the responses. Like they kind of like, if Mickey asks a question in French, then whoever's responding will respond in English, and you'll kind of be able to work out like what Mickey would have been asking. And so it's kind of like a really good mixture where you like it is both. There are certain shows that they have which they have a specific time for English showings and then French showings. So we have like a Stitch kind of like, it's kind of like Turtle Talk with Crush.
Gotcha.
It's like that kind of a setup where it's kind of like Stitch is on a screen and he interacts with an audience. So there tends to be like a showing, like they alternate between like an English showing and a French showing.
Okay.
But then like you'll get like a sort of like a whole multitude of different nationalities like that will go in as the audience. So like you'll get like French people go into the English speaking one, you'll get people from the Netherlands, you'll get people from Germany, like, and it's like a whole like mixture.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely like the parade was something that surprised us when we first watched it, because we didn't like, I think it's more like kind of, you know, like in the Christmas parade at Disney World where like they'll like the characters will comment and things and they will like talk. I like really Festival of Fantasy, they don't really like say anything.
Yeah.
It's the music, and whereas like they do a lot more talking in the parade at Disneyland Paris, and it's kind of like the majority is in French.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a mixture.
Yeah. Also, I think it's good to be aware that some of the characters have different names in French. So Goofy is Dingo, and Chip and Dale are Tick and Tack. So yeah, so some of the characters actually have different names over there as well. So kind of if you see kind of like, oh, it's a meet and greet for Tick and Tack, that's Chip and Dale, you know. And
Gotcha.
that's really interesting too, is kind of some of them don't even have the same names. Yeah.
Huh, that is interesting. So that would be maybe something to like adjust to whenever you head over, like who are they, or, you know, how are they called, or how is it different and stuff. So that's really neat. That's cool. So we just got another question here in the chat. We have one. Is there a Disneyland Paris app like we have here at Disney World, as well as magic bands?
Yeah, so we don't have magic bands. As far as I know, magic bands are only for Disney World. Like none of the Disneylands like really use magic band.
Gotcha.
We do have an app. It used to be absolutely terrible.
Oh.
It used to be like so hard to use, and it used to like not work the best, but they've really put like a lot of time and effort into making it sort of like a really good app now. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Disney World, like the Disney company, have only just recently taken over like the full control over Disneyland Paris. So like over the last few years, so they're like, it has been sort of like becoming a lot more like the things you would find in the American parks have been kind of making their way over. And yeah, the app is definitely one of them. So like it's really like, it's really good to easy to use, isn't it now? And there's a lot more information on there. Definitely worth downloading now. Like before it was kind of like, I think just take your chances and pick up a paper like map, and like you were better off. But now it's like so much better, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
They've just introduced a new PhotoPass app as well. There used to be like a separate app for PhotoPass because it was run by like a different company, and now Disney have taken over that whole thing. So they have like a dedicated like PhotoPass app, which is like really good now as well. So like tons of like improvements to things like that happening at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, that's awesome then. That's perfect. Yeah, that's a question that we get a lot, is like the magic band question. Like, why does Disney World only have it, or, you know, do other parks offer it and everything? So
yeah, we love our magic bands, and it's a bit like with the ears. It's like, yeah, when we get to the end of our Disney World stays and we have to take the magic band off and the ears off at the airport, and yeah,
it's a sad day.
It is a sad day.
Exactly. No, I get that. Yeah, and I think if I remember right, like at the beginning of the year, they're gonna do away with the magic bands or something. So we might have had a short-lived with it.
Yeah, I think I saw like the plain colors, you could still kind of order them, but they're like, I don't know if they were like $5 or $10 or something. Like, it's going to be a charge, but yeah.
Gotcha.
I think we're going to still be able to use them. I think it's just going to be like a paid for like thing. I think a lot of magic bands at this stage. And just like, I mean, we ended up with 2 magic bands on our last trip just because like we switched rooms, like we like added an extra night onto our stay, and like it was kind of, because it was a separate booking, they like gave us another magic band. We're like, it's our last day, like we've had these on for 2 weeks, like I think we'll be okay. But so I see why they're kind of looking at phasing out the free ones. But yeah, I think that plenty of people will still be buying them and using them, because I think it is like a big thing, right? Like it's part of the nostalgia, isn't it, of like going to Disney World.
We just really that sound of like pressing our magic band up to the thing and hearing that ding. That's one of the things we really miss when we're not at Disney World. And so when we watch people's vlogs and we hear that sound, it just makes us so happy. And but at the same time really miss Disney World. But yeah, it's those little things that make Disney World special to us. Is it seems really silly just to kind of think about something you wear on your wrist and it you know lights up the thing and it goes ding, but yeah, it's just something that makes us really happy. Yeah.
It's the little things. It's the Disney accessories, like you said, the sounds and everything. It's all very nostalgic. That's what I love about it. So kind of going off of the Magic Band question, I wanted to talk about like ticket options. If you guys have like are familiar with that, whether it's like annual pass options or like, do you guys have single day tickets, park hopper tickets? How do tickets work whenever you go to Disneyland Paris?
Yeah, so they obviously you can just turn up and pay on the gate, and they weren't really doing that when it reopened because of COVID. Like they want to just like book ahead of time, but obviously that's going to always be your most expensive way of accessing the parks. They do sell single day tickets. They do, I think, anything up to like 5 days tends to be. I think it's similar to Disneyland California, where it's like a 1 day, or you can get 2 days, 3 days, up to 5 days. Generally, if you can buy them through Disney, but there's like certain like ticket resellers that like are sort of authorized by Disney, which I think a lot of people get them from if they need one. If you book a stay in a Disney resort, it tends to be like a inclusive like ticket, like with tickets package. So if you like booked it through like the Disney travel company, you would automatically like have tickets included in your package, which I think is like an option that most people would do.
Gotcha.
We tend to have annual passes. Like we're into our second year with annual passes now, and there's like 4 different price options with different like tends to be the main thing is different blackout dates and things, but also like different sort of like perks and like incentives and stuff as well.
I think the annual pass options are really reasonable. You know, like they can start from, I think, because last year was our first time getting annual passes, and I kind of went for the cheapest pass with the least validity and the no perks whatsoever. But at the time, if you stayed at a Disney hotel, it would override blockout dates. So it meant that kind of validity didn't really matter too much. And then Katie got the Infinity Pass, which is the best pass you can get with like tons of perks and discounts on the hotel and and food and everything. So we kind of combined those two and got the cheapest and the most expensive options. But yeah, I think my pass was something like £170. So for an annual pass, you know, I think it's kind of a similar price to paying kind of like for a 4-day 2-park ticket. So it really depends on when you want to go and what perks you need. This year we've both gone for Infinity, because we're not sure how long the Disney hotels will keep kind of that override. Because it's kind of not in Disney's best interest, and a lot of people like don't believe us when we told them that that's what happened, because it doesn't make financial sense for Disney. And especially with all the changes that have happened due to the virus, I can imagine that things will start to change as well, and Disney will want to start streamlining and kind of making the best economic decisions. So we're thinking maybe that it's not always going to be a thing. And it's really important to us because I'm a teacher, so I have to go in school holidays, and then normally the days that are blocked out on the kind of lower passes. So we went for Infinity Passes this time, but again, that's the best pass you can get, and you know you can get huge discounts on hotels, food, merchandise. You get extra magic time in the morning, which normally you only get if you stay at a Disney hotel. And still that was, you know, less than £500 for the whole year. So if you compare that to Disney World annual passes, I know obviously with Disney World you're kind of getting, you know, their best pass, you can get 4 parks, 2 water parks, and you know, so all those different things. So it's, you know, worth paying more for, you know, still to get an annual pass for less than £500, I think is a really good deal.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And when you guys went in your August trip, were they having you guys do reservations, or were they not doing, oh, they were doing reservations.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you stayed in a Disney hotel, they were kind of counting you within the numbers of the park capacity, so you didn't have to make an additional reservation. But
Okay.
if you had I think if you had dated tickets as well, again, they know what date you're coming, so they'll include you in the capacity. If you had an open dated ticket, or if you're an annual pass holder, you did need to book a park reservation. It's really easy to do, and it's a really easy online system, and it covers you for kind of both parks. So if you want to go into both parks in one day, you can. You have to just book one park. You can, they include you for both parks, which is
awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's nice then. Yeah, that's the one thing I know that a lot of people here for Disney World or in Florida are kind of sad about, is it's like you can only go and spend time at one park when you make the reservation. So that's one thing we're missing, is like the park hopper, type thing. But that's kind of neat.
When we come to Disney World, we are big park hoppers. We kind of do like split days where we'll kind of go back to the resort in the afternoon and kind of shower and change and maybe go to a different park. And we also did the 4-park challenge as well on our 2019 trip too, which was really fun. So yeah, we're hopeful that maybe park hopping will be a thing by the time we get back over there.
Exactly.
It will make things very different to how we normally do Disney World. So
yeah, definitely. I know that's one thing I'm missing, and I'm excited for when it does come back and everything. But in the meantime, I'm still just thankful that it's open and that I'm able to go for sure and stuff. But kind of going into park hopping and stuff, I wanted to talk about like Disney transportation that they have over there. Like, are the parks kind of situated right by each other, or is there like a distance that you have to travel like at Disney World, or how is that?
Yeah, kind of once you're on Disney property, it's like all like in one little bubble. So like you have Disney Village, which I guess is kind of like similar to like downtown Disney in California. So like we've got like, it's kind of like 3 areas. It's kind of like a T shape, I guess, where we've got like a little area. And it's kind of like one street. So kind of like Universal City Walk. It's like one street where there's like a Starbucks and there's a deli and there's like a sports bar, and it's like it's super small. Maybe like 5 or 6 different restaurants. Like there's a Planet Hollywood. There's another like diner called Annette's, which is super popular, which is like 1950s style, like roller diner kind of thing. And there's like some shops as well. So we have a big World of Disney, and we have kind of like some like separate Disney stores depending on, so there might be like a Disney store like just for toys, and then there's another one like for fashion, and like a Lego store, that kind of thing. So it's kind of like very much like a downsized version, I guess, of downtown Disney.
Gotcha.
And then that literally leads like right into the park, so they're kind of like side by side. I know in California like they're opposite each other, but like Disneyland like park and Studios Park are kind of like next to each other, aren't they? They're kind of like the end of the T. So yeah, super. I mean, it'll probably take 2 minutes to walk from like the entrance of one to the entrance of the other. So yeah, and the train station we talked about earlier is in between Disney Village and the parks. So so when you walk out of the train station, you're walking into Disney Village, and you can the entrance to Walt Disney Studios Park, and you can see just around the corner where the Disneyland Hotel is, which is at the entrance to Disneyland Park. So everything's really close, and you can just get the train kind of straight in, and you're into the Disney bubble. There are if you stay at a Disney, there are 6 Disney hotels, and apart from Disneyland Hotel, which you don't need anything because it's right at the entrance to the park, they do offer free shuttle buses, which are really, really super busy though, so you just have to kind of they're free, but it can get pretty crowded, and the manners kind of people go out the window on those buses. So they take like 5 minutes, even from the furthest away resort. It's like a 5-minute bus ride to get to like the Disney Village, and then like you're right into the parks,
and they're all walkable. They're all walkable distance anyway. So even the furthest Disney hotel is still kind of like a 15-minute walk. So they're everywhere's pretty close together, and the surrounding hotels tend to do shuttles as well, bus shuttles. It really depends on where you stay. There's an area about like 10 minutes out, with hotels where you need to get on the shuttle bus or drive. But then there's also a different area where there's lots of hotels, apartments, kind of like Airbnb,
nice.
a bit more suburban. You can get on the local buses from there. They also offer kind of free shuttle buses at some of the hotels. Yeah, you can drive, or some places are like close enough to walk as well. But also, if you're in that area, there's also another train station too. So it's just one stop from the station at Disney too. So it really depends on where you're staying. But in terms of kind of Disney transportation, it's just really the shuttles from the hotels, isn't it?
Gotcha. No, that's not bad then. Yeah, that's something that I'm totally not used to. Of course, being at Disney World, it's like you drive everywhere, you take the Skyliner, monorail, and stuff. So I think just having everything in one location can be really convenient, because especially like park hopping, you know, if you want to leave the one park and go over to the other one, like it's really convenient to do that. So that's something that would be different.
Like the resort for like a break in the afternoon, or you want to go to the village for like something to eat outside of the parks, then like you can just walk there and then walk straight back in. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's something that we don't, it's kind of a task to go back to the, you know, the resort or whatnot and stuff. But yeah, that's another thing I wanted to talk about. You said there were 6 Disney resorts that are there. How do they compare to, are there any that are similar to the Disney World resorts? Are there like some like less expensive ones, more expensive ones, or how do those work?
I think there are kind of different levels, like at different price points. So the most expensive one is the Disneyland Hotel, which I said is right at the entrance to the parks, and it is quite expensive. But then at the other side of Disney Village, they have kind of a little lake, and there's 3 hotels around that lake. One is Newport Bay, which has kind of got a kind of a yacht club vibe, but maybe not kind of quite as
it's not quite as deluxe as like Yacht Club, but it's like got a kind of, the theming's kind of quite similar, and it's one of the more expensive hotels like for Disney.
Yeah, you also have Sequoia Lodge, which has kind of got like a Grand Californian vibe, kind of like
Wilderness Lodge,
like
quite country,
kind of like
homely, isn't it?
It is very homely. And then the other hotel is actually closed at the moment because it will be New York, the Art of Marvel. So
gotcha.
Weeks with Marvel characters, and it's very much kind of superhero style. So especially because that's just been renovated, like I imagine that would be quite high quality. And kind of up there with Disneyland Hotel. So, and then there's 2 a little bit further back. They're about a 15-minute walk to the parks, and they're right opposite each other over a little river. One of them is Hotel Cheyenne, which has got a Woody's Roundup Toy Story theming. So it's very much like the Wild West. So, and that's great. And then the other one is Hotel Santa Fe, which has got a Cars theme. It's very much kind of a motel style. So the theming's really great, and they're what we would class as kind of like the value resorts at a cheaper price point. So I know that the other hotels offer things like swimming pools, whereas the Cheyenne and the Santa Fe, it's really just a room, and there's a one restaurant and the lobby, and you know, so there's not much there. But when you're at Disneyland, it's like you don't feel like you need much because you're in the parks like the majority of the time anyway. So it depends on really budget wise, but I think they're all really nicely themed, and they're all very different, I think. So it offers people something, depends on kind of like who you want to go with and what kind of theming you like and how much you want to spend. But they are all going pretty pricey at the moment.
They're going up in price quite a lot. We tend to we'll just go wherever it's cheapest because we love them all. We've we've stayed at the Santa Fe, the Cheyenne, and the Sequoia Lodge, and like it depends when we go. So like usually it'll just be whichever one's cheapest. But then like we did like a couple of like winter trips, and Sequoia Lodge was that kind of our pick because it's like slightly closer to the park, so like less of a walk in the freezing cold and in the dark, and it has that kind of like the homely rustic, like it's got the fires going, and just kind of it's a bit more like they can theme it a bit better for like Christmas, so it's like quite like a Christmas like wintry trip. But there's so many off-site options that are starting to become to become really viable for a lot of people now. Like a lot more people who would originally have stayed on site in a Disney resort are now looking at other options just because the price increases.
Yeah, I think maybe we've done 9 trips to Disneyland Paris, and our last trip was the first time we'd ever stayed in a non-Disney hotel at Disneyland Paris, just really because of, again, the price point, even with Infinity discount, which can start at 50% discount, and depending on how many rooms they still have left, they have a certain allocation of 50% off rooms, and it might drop to 40, and so even with huge discounts like that, it was still coming up quite expensive. So, and if you want to do multiple trips, if you're an annual pass holder, it is worth looking into other options. But I think they're having there are a lot more places that you can book on kind of like Expedia, Booking.com, Airbnb. It's in a suburban area. So, there are cheaper options still within walking distance or a short bus ride. So, so I think it depends. We love staying at Disney hotels. It really does add something for us, but then at the same time, if it's kind of between that and how long we can stay for, we'll always go for more time. So
definitely. No, I get that for sure. And I'm like local to Disney World, so I haven't been able to stay at many other resorts at all. When I was younger, we'd come and visit like Pop Century or, or hotels like that and stuff. But I would love to get to some of the maybe more like fancier ones or more expensive, but that might be a little bit down the road maybe. So
yeah, we kind of always said that we're like, we've been to look around quite a lot of like beautiful resorts, but if it's like we can stay like an extra week staying at All Star Sports than if we stayed at like the Boardwalk, then obviously we're gonna like take the extra week.
We always say, would you rather spend like 3 weeks at All Star or like a week at the Boardwalk, or like that's kind of and we always want to stay for longer, and we just don't, even though Boardwalk is like our dream resort that we like desperately want to stay at.
Yes, exactly.
Like we just like wouldn't be able to give up Disney time to like to stay there. So
definitely. No, I get that for sure and everything. So that's something to consider, like you said, is like pros and cons. Like, do you want the really classy experience, or do you want to be in the parks for longer? So no, that makes sense. But another question that I got on Instagram was in regards to the golf course. Do you know anything about the golf course that is? I didn't even know that there was one. So, and they were asking if it's worth visiting, if you've ever gone there before.
We've never visited it before. It's probably about 10-15 minute drive away from the actual parks, and it's in that area. I guess it's kind of in a similar area to where the hotels are, where you have to get the bus or drive. So it kind of so it's a little bit further out. We haven't actually been before, but we have heard it's nice. And I guess it depends on if you're like a really keen, something you want to do within your trip, then I guess it's worth looking into. But I think they have a nice restaurant that's also at their golf course too. So, but like I say, we've never actually been, so it's kind of like we're not golfers. So it's just a little bit further out, but it's not next to the parks.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense then. Okay. Yeah, that I didn't even know that there was one. So that was interesting to see that and stuff. But for anybody who's watching, we're getting a little bit close to the end. So if you have any last minute questions, feel free to throw them in there. But I had a little bit more on my list, and I know we talked a little bit about dining before, but I wanted to go back to like the restaurant options or like quick service options or even different treats that you guys have in the park that we maybe don't have here at Disney World. What do you guys usually like to do when it comes to like meals in the parks?
Yeah, we tend to like obviously dining's like a huge part of like any Disney World experience, and we absolutely like love like booking like character dining and doing like a whole bunch of like table service stuff when we're in Florida. It's not really like one of our priorities when we're in Disneyland Paris. I think you would assume like obviously with being in like France and like you'd be expecting like the French culinary experience and that kind of thing, but it's kind of like a completely different experience, isn't it? I guess like they obviously do have table service restaurants, there's like obviously slightly more deluxe ones, and then like going right down to like you can get like table service, they have carts, they like similar kind of thing. We tend to not book as much dining if we're going to Disneyland Paris.
I think like we've we've kind of never found the food to be of the same quality as Disney World. That's just based on our experience. So we've never really kind of made it part of a Disneyland Paris trip. Every now and again we'll do a table service meal. We tend just to do quick service. But yeah, I think we've only just started getting Mickey shaped treats in Disneyland Paris. So it's kind of like, again, things are getting better in regards to food and snacks and things, but it's really not, in our opinion, as high up there as dining at Disney World.
We have some really nice like dining experiences that a lot of people will go and they'll maybe do it like once, but then they probably wouldn't keep going back like every trip. So we've got like in our Ratatouille area, we've got Chez Remy, which is a super popular restaurant that you definitely need to book for, which is kind of like depending on where you sit in the restaurant, you can kind of see like the exit to the Ratatouille ride, so you can like see people exiting the ride, and it's like very much like you've been shrunken to the size of a rat, and it's like kind of like cocktail umbrella like parasols and like giant fairy like string lights, and it's very cool. It's like you're sitting on like corks, and like it's the theming is amazing. And if you are looking for like something that's like a bit of a nicer, like more quality meal, that's definitely the place. If you're looking for something that's a bit more, I guess, that French cuisine kind of thing, then that's definitely the experience for that.
I think a lot of the table service restaurants as well kind of have like a set menu, so they'll have a few options for each course, but also they have different menus at different price points as well. They're very into like having a set menu over there. But yeah, Chez Remy is probably one of my favorites. The food is pretty good there. Also, there's some good like character dining options as well, isn't there? You can have breakfast with the princesses, which we did on one of our trips last year. It was really cool. So I think it's more for the experiences rather than the standard of food. It just not quite to our taste. But if you're comparing restaurants at Disney World and to Disneyland Paris, we much prefer the restaurants at Disney World. That's just kind of based on the experiences that we've had. But yeah, now you can get a Mickey waffle at Disneyland Paris.
Mickey waffle.
There you go.
Always got a Mickey waffle, but no, again, that's something that's like fairly new.
There's a place called Victoria's, which is really lovely for like they do like cool milkshakes and like the Mickey waffles and things. Like, it's really nice. It's just like the thing with Disneyland Paris dining is you have to really be careful with opening and closing times, just to make sure, because they're like not open like all day, like in like a Disney World restaurant might be open like the entire day. They might just like open from like 4, or they might be open for the morning, then they'll close, or they might just be open for lunch. So like that's a big thing. We've got like a cool restaurant called Captain Jack's, which is kind of like the Blue Bayou in Disneyland, California. It's in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. We've not done it yet because it just hasn't been open like whenever we've looked to go. But yeah, they have some cool experiences. There's some buffet restaurants. We have Casey's Corner on Main Street. A bakery, so they have started with some like Mickey shaped cookies, and fudge is quite a big thing with Disneyland Paris, like different flavors of fudge. But yeah, in general, like they are getting better with the snacks. But yeah, it's just not quite like at the same level as Disney World.
Gotcha.
We have started taking our own snack packs and maybe just have like one meal a day, or like buy one treat if it's something that's really kind of like within the season. Like we bought frozen cookies when it was frozen season, things like that.
Gotcha. No, that's cool. Yeah, I like hearing about all the different restaurant options and everything. So my friends over at the Matthew and Lauren Vlogs channel, they're actually planning, I think, their honeymoon to Disneyland Paris, hopefully, eventually. So they were asking here that they've read about Buffalo Bills. They think that's what the name is. And if you guys have heard about it, do you think it's worth having them do, or should they look into something else instead?
They actually just closed that show like last like couple of weeks. Well, obviously it's not been on since before they closed back in like at the start of lockdown. So like they kind of like have just announced that they're not bringing it back. But it was Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, so it was kind of like a Wild West theme like dinner show where they had a big arena with horses and shooting and like games and stuff, and then you just like had your like it was like a set dinner that they like brought round. We've only done it the one time. We did it for our birthday. I mean, we did it on our January trip this year actually, because with our annual passes we got free tickets from your birthday for a month after. So we took advantage of those free tickets and we went. But I know like it was one of the the experiences that if you could use dining credits for if you had a dining plan with your resort. So a lot of people like were really keen on it, but they've just announced they're not bringing it back.
I mean, it might be like further down the road they might choose to do something. So it is quite a big space in Disney Village, and it's kind of, I'm sure it's been there since like day one of Disneyland Paris. So lots of people will be sad to see it go, but I'm hoping that they're just going to update it maybe, or do something different with it. But we just don't know when that will be. At the moment they're saying that it's not going to come back with everything else, but it may just come back as something different. So.
Gotcha. Oh, well, at least we let them know, so that way they didn't get there and maybe get discouraged or sad about it. But I'm glad that you brought up the Ratatouille restaurant. I think that would maybe be another neat alternative to go do instead. I think I'm like obsessed with all the Ratatouille stuff right now. I just can't wait until the ride is open at Epcot. But so maybe I'm a little bit biased. But we also had another question.
Amazing. They have like a kind of like a temporary like food event in that area as well. So I think it tends to be sort of like an autumn thing that kind of goes over Christmas and like into the new year, where they have like kind of like German Christmas market style like huts where they sell like different cuisines and like kind of like hot cider and like mulled wine, and like that's where you'll be able to get like snails from, so things like that. So like that's another pop-up thing. So that just came to me when you said about the Ratatouille area. Sorry for interrupting you then, but
you're good.
It depends on when you're gonna go. So
that's awesome. No, I love the Christmas markets like over in Europe and stuff. So that might have to be whenever I go visit, because I just absolutely love the Christmas markets. I think that's so cool. That's awesome. So that's another good thing to know about or keep in mind. But we have another question here from Lorna. I think she brought this up in a previous live stream, but do you think the new London resort will affect Disney Paris and Walt Disney World? If yes, in what way? Are you familiar with the new London resort?
Like, the media in the UK like love like calling it UK Disneyland or UK Disney World, even though it's like not affiliated with Disney in any way, shape or form. Like it was never going to be like a Disney park, but the media here like loves calling it like UK Disneyland, and like it's like become a bit of a thing where I think Disneyland like Paris have actually started like, and Disney in general have started kind of saying like thanks for the tag, but like it's not really kind of our thing. It's gonna be amazing to have like another resort in the UK. Like we've got like some really amazing theme parks and attractions and stuff here, and it's always good to have like somewhere else to go. Like obviously we've got like the Warner Studios tour, which is like the Harry Potter world and stuff over here, and like obviously we've got the Merlin theme parks and like Madame Tussauds and the Sea Life centers and stuff. So we have like some amazing attractions to already go to, but it's just going to be amazing to have somewhere else. And it has like what we've heard about it, it's going to be kind of, did they say like Paramount related? So it is going to be very much like a movie related park. We're kind of picturing it more like Universal, I guess. Because for us, Disney is Disney. Like Disney is the characters, Disney are the theme, and Disney is the like intellectual property. Like it's like it's not. We don't think that Disney World is a theme park, if that makes sense. Like we see Disney parks as like a completely like separate thing to a theme park. And I guess like the new London resort, we're seeing a bit more like kind of Universal Studios than Disney. If that makes sense. I think definitely still people will still go to Disney because they love Disney. But I think given obviously with Disneyland Paris being more difficult to get to this year, and Disney World being obviously we can't get to Disney World or Disneyland California with that being closed, and like I think a lot more UK theme parks have been sort of like busier than they definitely would have been. But I think if it was the other way around, I don't think that would have happened. Like if we'd have still been able to like easily get to Disneyland Paris or easily get to Disney World, then I don't think as many people in the Disney community would have gone to those theme parks, if that makes sense. It kind of like I think it would definitely affect it the other way around, but I don't think it'll affect Disney so much, like with it being like a non-Disney park.
Yeah. And I think lots of families from the UK will take a short trip to Disneyland Paris, but maybe only do it once, and they're choosing the right age for their children and kind of make it a one-time thing. So they'll probably maybe kind of like maybe visit the London one a bit more, or kind of like, you know, I think lots of people just want to go to places once. I think Disney fans who want to make lots of different trips will just carry on lots of different trips. So yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, there might be like a huge maybe hype at the beginning or whatnot. Maybe a little bit of traffic will go there. And then afterwards, maybe like you said, it'll just be like people want to go check it out. Or maybe people in the UK, that'll be like their home park or something like that. So I didn't even know that this was going to be a new thing. So I'm kind of interested to keep up on it and see like what it ends up being like. I think that'll be cool.
Yeah,
so,
because there's been like so much confusion around like exactly what it's going to be. I think they've done it on purpose, like where nobody really knows like exactly what it's going to be. And I think when we know a bit more about it, then we'll be able to like decide whether it's going to be like you would give up a Disneyland Paris trip to go.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely. And then Lorna had another question here, I think regarding meals. She's asking, when I get the chance to go to Disney Paris or Walt Disney World, I think I might eat small snacks rather than meals, or have a meal plan as the meals are so big. What do you think of this idea?
Yeah, we're big snackers. Like the only time we've ever had a Disney meal plan at Disney World was our last trip, our 2019 trip, and it was just because like we booked super early and we got a really good deal where we were getting that dining plan for free. I don't think we would ever buy a dining plan. I think like we would just pay out of pocket, like we've always done. And I think very much the same kind of thing for Disneyland Paris. If it's like included in the package and you're getting a super cheap deal and it's like you're not paying for it, then I think it's like obviously you're going to take the chance, like the opportunity, and just try out as many restaurants as you can. But in general, like we've never felt the need like where we've had to like pay specifically for a dining plan. Like if we just want to eat that restaurant, and like we'll just pay out of pocket for it, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Definitely. No, I know, like, because I'm local and I go to the parks a lot, I know I'll just kind of like bring my own snacks. But yeah, I'll like, if there's something, some treat or something I want to try, I'll definitely like, you know, obviously purchase that. Or if I go with friends, like, then I'll decide to go to a restaurant or something. So I don't think that, I'm a snacker too, so I don't think that the snack option is a bad one at all by any means.
Also, you need to think about how long it takes to do a table service meal. From kind of like making sure you're arriving on time, you might have to wait for your table even though you know you've made a reservation, and then you know it just takes a lot longer. So I think snacking as well, it just keeps you on the go, and you can fit in a lot more with that time. So if it's something that's really important to you, like you said, when we're at Disney World, we'll maybe just choose maybe 2 or 3 places table service that we really want to do as part of the experience. But apart from that, we kind of just would rather spend the time kind of just like out and about and taking in the atmosphere of everywhere, rather than being in a restaurant for 3 hours. So yeah, we do take our own snacks at Disneyland Paris now, just to kind of again just keep moving and just get the things you really want, rather than having to make choices about food all the time.
Gotcha. No, I definitely, I agree with that for sure and stuff. And I think we might be going back a little bit. We talked about this maybe just briefly, but maybe in more detail. What is Disneyland Paris's version of Disney Springs like? Did you say it's called Disney Village?
Yeah, it's called Disney Village. It's kind of it's kind of like downtown Disney in a way that it's just like kind of like one street, but it's super small. I think you can probably walk the length of it in like less than 5 minutes. Like
gotcha.
There's like a McDonald's, there's a Five Guys, there's like a Planet Hollywood. There's like, it's more like dining locations. There's a really cool place that is kind of like country and western themed, and they have like an all you can eat like Mexican food like buffet, and that's really cool. And they have like live bands and things on in there, so that's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, and they have like a sports bar and a small arcade. But yeah, in general, it's more kind of like different versions of different Disney shops. So you kind of like have like an art shop. There's a ladies and men's fashion shop, and then there's a fashion shop for children as well. And then again, there's one with a real mixture of merchandising, but then there's one like specifically that mostly does like princesses and Frozen, and so it's not as varied, I would say, as I mean, Disney Springs are so huge anyway. But yeah, it's really tiny, but there are food options, merchandise options. And yeah, so once the parks close, there is a real atmosphere about it. I know lots of people enjoy going to the sports bar, and they have big screens with sports matches, and yeah, so
you get a glotini. There's karaoke like some nights. Like it's small and it's like not too crazy, but it's generally like the shops are very much Disney related. There's a Lego shop, but other than that, there's no like outside brands. And then there's mainly just eating options. So you've got Starbucks and
Gotcha. Okay. No, that makes sense.
It's nice to have it.
Yeah, no, I definitely love Disney Springs and everything, just like a little mini Disney atmosphere and everything. So that's kind of neat, something other, different to do if you don't go into the parks maybe one day or something. So let's say, Lorna had another question, and then we'll be finishing up maybe after this one. She's asking, do the cast members come across in the same way as in Walt Disney World? So maybe like
I think it really varies at Disneyland Paris. And I think as someone from the UK, the American customer service is very different to anywhere else that we've been. So I think it's part of when you go to Disney World and Disneyland California, it is a completely different style of customer service, which we really enjoy. And in our opinion, it is one of the things that are missing from Disneyland Paris. The cast members all work really, really hard, and there's lots of different nationalities that, of people that work there. And, and a lot of the things maybe that are not coming across in the same way, a lot of it's to do with like language barriers and confidence in other languages. I think that plays a part for the cast members there, if they're a little bit unsure, if maybe that understanding, because even from the UK we're coming, I know that we've got different accents to people who kind of live in London, who who are Scottish and Welsh, and from Ireland and Northern Ireland, and there's people who travel from all over Europe to go regularly to Disneyland Paris. So I think it is very much if they're not coming across quite as friendly and bubbly and everything, I think sometimes it is to do with confidence in different languages. I mean, our French is terrible. We wouldn't be able to get by if they didn't help us in English. We are trying to get better, but yeah, I think that's one of the things that maybe where it's not quite the same, but it's not the same as American customer service, but it's still the Disney brand and it's still the Disney name, and and everybody works really hard. Especially because conditions are very different as well. The weather is very changeable. It can be hot and then freezing. It sometimes snows at Disneyland Paris. Sometimes the weather's not great, and and there's a lot of other things to contend with at Disneyland Paris. But yeah, I think nothing beats American customer service for us. It's part of what makes our experience to Disney World so magical, because we really do feel that magic. And so it's not quite the same, but they're still working really, really hard, and we really appreciate the cast members at Disneyland Paris, because they have different challenges than anywhere else. So.
Definitely. No, for sure. Yeah, that I could definitely see how that would be a huge, like you said, like the confidence or whatnot and stuff. Because I know when you're over there, you're trying to, even as a tourist, maybe try to speak the language, and you're like, but for a job, like you're with that all day. So I could see how it could be kind of intimidating for sure. But so that pretty much finishes up all the questions that I had. Thank you everyone in the chat for asking questions and everything. I know that this was super informational for me. And of course, I want to go to Disneyland Paris even more now with all of this info that I have. So thank you, Katie and Hayley, so much for joining in today and sharing all this information. I really appreciate it, you guys.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so of course, everybody who's watching, whether it's on the replay or live, go ahead and go check out their channel. They've got a lot of fun Disney content and keep up with them and all of their Disney adventures. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. We're going to sign off here now, but we'll see you guys next time for another Disney live stream. So we'll see you guys.